Speak and pause. Do you hear a replay?
Council ready?
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Welcome to tonight's regular meeting of June 11th, 2024. We will have Councillor Shane will be absent from tonight's meeting, and just to note that Councillor Bajelli will be joining us on Zoom. Can you hear us, Adrian?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So let's get this. Yeah, we're all happy. Let's get this meeting called to order, Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved that this regular meeting now open at 6:31 PM, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Any questions? See none. All in. I guess I can look on this side. All in favor. Motion is carried. Adoption of the agenda.
Be it resolved that the agenda be approved as presented, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you. Before I move, so in regards to the agenda, we do have item 7.2 of the agenda. There was a Public Works Superintendent could not be with us tonight, so there's questions from myself that I would have liked to ask. I don't know about council, but there's no pressing need. So I'm just wondering if we're all in agreement, maybe that we can kind of defer it to when we get there, or can I do it right from here, Craig, or do we just defer it when it comes through?
Through the chair, I would suggest we defer it when we get to the report.
Perfect. Thank you. So moving on, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
Oh, we didn't carry this.
Oh, sorry, all in favor of the adoption of the motion? Motion is carried.
Okay.
Next, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Nature thereof, seeing none. Moving on, there is no delegation tonight. So item 5, adoption of minutes of previous meetings.
Be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as presented. Regular meeting, May 28th minutes, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Any questions in regards to the previous minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. Adoption of minutes of committee and local boards.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont accept and approve the following committee minutes as presented. South Nation Conservation Authority minutes, April 18th, 2024, for information purposes, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
Thank you. Any discussions on South Nation's minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Adrian, are you still with us? You're good?
I am, yeah.
Thank you. Moving to item 7.1, the receiving the monthly staff reports and recommendations.
Be it resolved that the following monthly reports be received. The Arena, CAO, Finance, Fire, Bylaw Enforcement, Building, Planning, Public Works, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Any questions in regards? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
Actually, I was going to ask a question of Kim. She's not here, but maybe you can give her a heads up for our next meeting and we can follow up on it there. It was around the status of HST and GST rebates for each of the rec groups. I was just wondering if she's gotten a handle on that yet. I know there's some disparity on who can get HST rebates, and it has to do with their numbers and their practices. And every time I'm at an ARC meeting, the topic kind of comes up, and I'm not sure whether it's a procedural issue on their part or something that Kim has to do. So I'm just wondering if we can get a status on that.
From a high level, through the chair, Deputy Mayor Densham, one of the stumbling blocks was for an individual from those rec groups to have to provide their personal SIN number. I understand that there's been some dialogue with CRA, and that is actually not, in fact, the case. So Kim was reaching out to the ARC committee, I believe, directly through Pierre, but we were trying to stick handle through that for each of them to get their HST done independently. But I will ask her to have a report ready or to speak to it at the next council.
Yeah, okay, that's great, thank you. A second question, if I could, for fire, was just on the report. Just if you could remind me, it says ambulance assist, And I think we're seeing a lot more of those than we have in past years. Is that because we've reclassified some of the calls, or is it because we're doing more activity on those categories?
During the COVID time, through the chair, my apologies. Through COVID time, we were restricted on a lot of the medical calls. We didn't have our tiered response. We renewed our tiered response last year. Therefore, our response to medical calls has started over again. With that said, we are seeing more medical assistance. They have recategorized as of April 10th. They have redistributed some of their call volumes, even for us as fire. So that may or may not play in part. We're actually following that very closely as to see if that's affected us. But in the last 3 years, we didn't have during COVID any medical calls to tiered response.
Councillor McDonald?
I just wanted to bring up, because there's no really like a rec report per se, but there was a thing that happened last week with the Chrysler Park. And I'm not sure if that was brought to your attention, but basically there's a post put on Facebook that parents weren't going to be able to use the park in Chrysler for 2 months because it was going to be rented to a private camp. And I'm telling you, the amount of messages I got on that was stunning. So I got to the conversation on Facebook a little bit late. I don't know if the post was changed after the fact, but one of the comments made, and I have it saved, is that the park is not owned or paid for by the taxpayers, and the taxpayers don't necessarily have any right to that public space. So the messaging was very upsetting for a lot of residents. And someone did ask me to bring that up, and I think it's all resolved now, but it created uncertainty about the park in Chrysler, and there's very limited space for parents to bring their kids in the summer. And it just, again, made us realize how important these spaces are to our residents, but there was bad communication there.
And the rec group acknowledged that the post was immediately taken down when the president saw that. There was some miscommunication on, and the wording used.
Okay.
I can certainly send you the response that I got, because as CAO, I immediately sent it to the rec coordinator, who provided a very swift response and acknowledged that there was some lapse in communication there. So I can forward that to all of council.
I would
as
appreciate
an
that, and I'll
explanation.
disseminate that to people so they
Please.
understand, because I think they took away feeling that the park doesn't belong to the community as a whole. And I think it's important to just sort of lay that straight for people, because it's so important to, the
Absolutely,
parents and
and
families.
and my apologies, I thought that had been disseminated or communicated through that Facebook group, but perhaps there needs to be a bit more clarity in the explanation that was provided.
Yeah, I think so.
Just so I'm aware, so is there any changes? Because I mean, this daycare or camp that takes place has been going on now for at least 3 years. Is there any changes to what?
No.
So
As far as I know, no. There was a few concerns about drop-offs and children mingling in with the groups, but I can certainly send that to all of
The way it was
council.
understood, I did not see the original post. I don't know if it's modified. It was said that no one could access the entire park in Chrysler, which obviously I don't think was the intent, but
No.
if you want to see people react, like, tell them they can't take the kids to the park, so.
Oh, fair enough. It's a public space, and again, it was a very quick and transparent response. And again, I thought that had been communicated clearly back to the residents, but we can circle back and make sure that if it wasn't, we will make sure that it is.
That would be good, and I think it just reasserts the value we provide to the community with those
The township
spaces.
doesn't have ownership of that website, but certainly the
Well,
communication needs to be
I
done.
personally was not aware. So did this message come from?
Chrysler Community Center, I believe, posted it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
It did.
so, okay.
And is that municipal land? So there were a number of detailed questions sent, but do
That
we
is
own?
township owned
It's
property.
a,
Okay,
yeah, it's a public space.
It's a public space.
okay, great, thanks.
Any further, Steve, you're good? So just and again, for Public Works, which is not, I kind of requested, so there's a lot of, and I'm sure I think council can attest to that comment, people that are, the work that's being done by Public Works, which takes care of whether it's, when is the calcium going on for dust suppression, when is, so what I'd like, I spoke to our superintendent with the supervisor coming back now and then. I'd like to get a weekly report to council, so we're made aware of just what the schedules change, I understand that, but at least an overview of what the work plan is, so that we can relate that information quickly to our residents when they do ask. So that's something that you can look forward to in the couple, we'll be meeting, and I'd like to set something up so we can get sort of, so that's something that I'm looking forward to help us sort of guide the public where we're at and the work that's being done. The Public Works do a lot of work, so they are busy, but at the same time, it needs to be related back to the resident as well. Councillor or Deputy Mayor Densham.
Yeah, thank you. That's really good to hear. And it's kind of part of the whole communication theme that I'm hoping our economic developer, I shared with you, Craig, some input on what some councillors felt were a priority. And I think one of the key priorities was communication in general. How we define that going forward, we'll count on yourself and the EDO to work on. But I don't think it's just about business promotion that we're talking about. It's even things like this. Anything that makes us look bad, or on the flip side, can make us look better as a municipality. And I think communication is one of the best things that we can do. So not necessarily that this person should be posting all the information, et cetera, but setting up a framework and helping to build the habits alongside yourself of the different departments that are very ratepayer facing in their activities, I think would be very, very helpful. So when the timing's right, I'd love to have a more in-depth discussion about what are the things that we need to communicate and when and how we can bring that forward. I think it would just save everybody a lot of concern and headache, and a lot of these things some of these things ending up on Facebook and becoming discussions behind the scenes with misinformation. So.
Perfect. And just again on the, not comment, but just to put it out there as far as the this construction schedule going on. So June 13th is the deadline for the tenders coming in. So I'm looking forward to going through that for the 25th, I presume. Would that be coming to council?
Correct. The timing was strategic. The deadline for submissions is noon on the 13th. That'll give us enough time, or give the administrative office enough time to get any of the submissions from the contractors that are allowed to submit. There was a mandatory site visit. 5 contractors did attend, so I'm hoping we get a very robust response from them on the 13th. But all of these submissions will be vetted through the engineering firm. And then, of course, we will bring it to council for the 25th with all of the pricing, all the submissions and the recommendations.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Seeing none. Councillor Bajelli?
No, just I appreciate the comments about Public Works. That was kind of be my focus this time of year, status of things like repairs to lawn from plow damage, road widening. That's at the forefront right now. So it's good to know we're going to get updated on those on a regular basis.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Councillor McDonald, did you have something to add? No. Perfect. So the motion to accept the staff reporting, all in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to item 7.2, so paving of the Avonmore Fire Hall and ambulance parking lot.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont approves the request to reallocate funds from the asphalt overlay project, which came in under budget, in order to pave the Avonmore Ambulance Bay and Fire Station parking lot to a maximum cost of $25,000. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
So as I mentioned earlier, I think that the understanding of the project which came under budget, but I'm not sure identifying the projects that we're talking about. So I think I'd rather defer, get our Public Works in the room whenever. And Craig, do you have anything to add to that? Or?
No, I think it prudent that council defers this until, again, the treasurer is of course away on business. And with Blake being away from Public Works, I think both of those two internal stakeholders are required for this conversation.
To add to that, I think just to defer for the future discussion, like, it would be nice to know when there's surplus, the options, as opposed to just one option be presented, just so we understand, like, hey, there was a plan, we had ranked out our projects, this is our top ranking backup project. It's just not an understanding right now of that asset management, I guess, piece or operational piece.
And this is where I'm not sure if it's an actual surplus or if it's something that's not happening that could kind of where we slide it over. But again, I'd rather have the right answers to our questions. So I already found out or put the question, it's not something that was done next week. So I don't think the deferral will change the scope of getting this done in this summer. So with that, the motion is carried. So basically I'll ask all in favor to defer. Councillor Burgelli, so motion is to defer. Thank you very much. 7.3 Agricultural Committee appointment of public members.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont approve the appointment of 2 additional public members to the Agricultural Committee, moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. So, Councillor McDonald, do you want to maybe just add to that as chair?
Yeah, so the CAO's report is great. It outlines the process that we followed to recruit these new members. This was following the report of recommendations on the pilot program. I feel really good about both choices. One of them I know, one of them I don't know, but they both seem very, very qualified. And we are discussing the next steps to engage that committee. So I think this is just a report outlining what's to be done, but the actual appointments are to occur at the next meeting.
Through the chair, yes, I didn't see any rush to have this on the agenda tonight. We could have, but I thought I would allow council to digest these 2 new members, and it will come forward on the 25th.
So we'll engage those new members and hope to get a meeting on the books. And yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Densham.
No question, just a comment. This was intended to be a pilot, so I'm really happy to see the fact that we're approaching it as a pilot and making tweaks and stuff as we go along. So that's great.
Thank you. So all in favor of the appointment? Councillor Burgelli? Motion is carried. Because I guess, oh no, you were both in, never mind. So moving on to municipal bylaws, 8.1 bylaw number 48-2024 for Explorer lease agreement.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 48-2024, being a bylaw to enter into a ground site lease agreement with Explore Fiber LP by its general partner Explore Spectrum Holdings, Inc., for the installation of an OLT shelter and related equipment on township property located on William Street, Finch, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 11th day of June 2024. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Any question, Councillor, or Deputy Mayor Densham?
Yeah, definitely support it. One thing that I didn't think of before, well, 2 things actually. One is, do we expect, since this is going to be a hub of sorts, will there be a lot of construction around that in the foreseeable future? A lot of lines being, webbing out from this as a local point? Did they give you any sense as to whether or not that's likely to happen?
Through the chair, no, they did not, Deputy Mayor Densham. I'm not 100% sure how busy that point will be. I'm assuming there's going to be some activity. Obviously, they're going to have to run the lines into that box, or that cabinet, I guess they call it. And they're already running the lines in Finch from what I understand right now. But I honestly don't have an idea of the negative impact, at least for the short term.
Okay, yeah, and again, I don't know that I don't think that's paved back there. I think it's still gravel, so it's not like we're gonna have to dig through pavement if they have to. My second question was more about, does this lease obligate us in any way for snow clearing or anything during the winter to allow them access? Because I did see in the agreement it said 24/7 access, but I didn't know whether we're obligated to.
I believe, through the chair, I believe we clear that anyway, so our aqua partners can get in and out, safe ingress and egress to the site, because it's right beside the water tower, so I believe we were doing that anyway. Will it create a bit of a challenge having this cabinet in the middle of the parking area. I believe it will, but I think it's a required complexity that we're going to have to put up with. I mean, if we want to support broadband and they need the cabinet, so.
Yeah, I just didn't know whether their expectations for snow removal might be higher than what we've been doing for Aqua traditionally, and whether or not they're going to bear the expense of that versus.
In my conversation, no. It would probably be very rare that they would need to access it unless there was a problem.
Okay, great, thank you.
And my thought is the arena is a public place, which is being, so I believe it's probably still Ted Moran's and Sunset that clear it. It's being done on, so I don't foresee that there, unless it's a specific event that takes place where they would need to, but that we work around that all the time throughout our rural community. So I'm thinking that it just, what I think you're getting at is it doesn't tie us into, now it's our duty to make sure that, so.
And through the chair, as I indicated in the report, this is vetted through our legal counsel. I did ensure that we had that capacity and that the township or the ratepayers were not going to be shouldered with that cost. And Xplornet did agree right away to cover the township's legal costs for that.
Perfect. Any questions, Alton? Councillor Bajelli? Any questions? No? All in favor of the agreement? Motion is carried. Moving on to bylaw number 49-2024, appointing of a deputy chief.
Be resolved that bylaw number 49-2024, being a bylaw to repeal and replace bylaw number 44-2024 to appoint deputy fire chiefs for the Township of North Stormont Fire Department, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed this 11th day of June 2024, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
So as you are aware, we did pass this with 3 of them, so maybe Nancy, just tell us the outcome of why we're.
So we did do some interviews and found that to our fault and not theirs, there's still some training required. There's some strong requirements from the legislation coming down from the province, changes from our growth in Chrysler as well. So this is an important change to our area. And we felt that the candidates, although very strong, were maybe ill-prepared from our perspective. And that said, I spoke with our current deputy chief, Kevin Lapp, and asked if he would postpone his retirement and stay on so that we can provide more training, not just to the candidates, but to more of the Chrysler station. So that's what we're doing. And we're hoping to pull from the Chrysler station. So, and we have a lot of new recruits. This would have been a really hard transition phase for them. So it would have been an unfair position to put them in as well. So we think we're just going to regroup, sit down and review the strategy of his future retirement, which we're hoping will be in no less than 2 years. But that's what we're planning for. So we'll have a better succession planning for it in the future.
So in that succession planning that you're talking about, is Kevin gonna work with like a few individuals that potentially were looked at, like a?
Yes, we're gonna work with everybody. Not only do we need to prepare the captains for future roles as potential deputies, but we need to prepare the firefighters to take over those captaincies should they become free. There's a slew of retirement coming up, and currently we have probably 50% of our members, our new recruits, are within the last 4 years. And with the tradition changes and the training changing, we need to focus on that. But yeah, it's we're all working towards that same goal. And not just that one station, but in other stations as well.
Good. Any further questions, Deputy Mayor Dennis?
Just a big thank you to Deputy Chief Lapp for agreeing to stay on, even though I know once you make a decision to kind of make a change, it's sometimes tough to go back. So pass on our thanks to him
Shall do.
for sticking it through. Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion is carried. So we do not have any unfinished business. In regards to new business, 10.1 in courts of revision appointments, Mr. CAO.
And through the chair, I'll just give you an overview. I indicated to Sean that his attendance would not be necessary. He's got a a little one that just arrived, so I wanted him to spend some time with his wife and his new baby. And this is fairly straightforward. So the Court of Revision is required under the Drainage Act. 3 members of council for the areas within the township boundaries are required. We will have an upcoming Court of Revision for County Road 22, and that will be significantly more complex and will require us to include our adjacent municipal partners. But the COR is a locally appointed appeal body and is designed to hear potential challenges from particular watershed owners. This is designed to hear potential challenges from property owners involved in this particular watershed. This is 16 property owners that received their packages. Is that accurate? 16? And the adjacent owners can appeal on 3 grounds. The cost is too expensive, the cost is too low, or due to their perceived consideration wasn't provided, or there wasn't enough weight given to the property use. So those are the only 3 opportunities for appeal. But Sean just had indicated to give me these cold notes to give council an idea. But the 3 appointees are the mayor, deputy mayor, and Charles Shane due to his farming experience.
Thank you. Any questions from, seeing none? So is this here something that we should be looking at, like at the beginning of a term and appointing, or is that specific to, like say for one that's coming up, or County Road 22 again is where they're, so is it site specific that we would appoint?
Through the chair, I read this, and the deputy clerk and I did have conversation on that. The way I read it, and I'll certainly defer this to Sean and perhaps Monica, but my reading of the Drainage Act, because of each scenario being unique, I believe we should be appointing them on an as-needed basis. They're extremely rare. The last one we had to do was in September 2019, I believe it was. Was a very complex COR. This one is relatively simple. But as I've already indicated, the County Road 22 is going to be, it will be impactful not just for North Stormont, but our neighboring townships. So we're going to have to incorporate some council from the other townships for those. But again, that's why I think we should err on the side of caution and appoint these strategically and as needed.
Perfect. Thank you very much. With,
I didn't make the motion.
sorry.
I didn't make the motion yet.
So I will get you to read the motion, please.
That the Council of the Township of North Stormont appoint the following elected members to participate in the Outer Kirk Drain Court of Revision: Mayor Francois Landry, Deputy Mayor Steve Densham, Councillor Charles Shane. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. So now that the motion's read where it specifically states to participate in the Outer Kirk Drain, so when we jump onto County Road 22 in 2 months from now, do we fall into the same 3 that are already appointed that follows through, or is that where we would have to appoint 3 more?
I was gonna volunteer if you wanted to change out for that one, because I have had some experience with the permitting side, the water pressure, like it's a complicated training. Oh, thanks, Nancy. I was gonna volunteer for that just because, not that I have to, but if you wanna leave it open that other people could participate, now that I'm not at South Nation, I feel like it might be helpful.
Through the chair, I think this gives us, and this just supports CEO's recommendation to appoint on an as-needed basis, because we do have that flexibility to appoint other elected officials other than the 3 for this particular drain review during the County Road 22 discussion as well. So it doesn't have to be the same 3, no.
Well, the way the motion's read, it specifically speaks to
Correct.
participate in the Outer Kirk. So I think when it comes to 22, we can kind of realign and take the expertise of different, so for now.
And through the chair, I did that strategically, or with Sean's suggestion, we did that strategically to give us the flexibility to appoint as needed on each independent case.
Good, so all in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Item 11, motions and notices of motion. Amendments to the Blue Box regulation. Madam Clerk?
Whereas under Ontario Regulation 391-21, Blue Box producers are fully accountable and financially responsible for their products and packaging once they reach their end life and are disposed of for eligible sources only. And whereas ineligible sources which producers are not responsible for, including businesses, places of worship, daycares, campgrounds, public-facing and internal areas of municipally owned buildings, and not-for-profit organizations such as shelters and food banks. And whereas should a municipality continue to provide services to ineligible sources, the municipality will be required to oversee the collection, transportation, and the processing of recycling, assuming 100% of the costs. Be it resolved that the Township of North Stormont supports the resolution from the Township of North Glengarry and multiple other municipalities in requesting that the province amend Ontario Regulation 391-21 Blue Box so that producers are responsible for the end-of-life management of recycling products from all sources. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Andrea Kangin, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Nolan Quinn, MPP, Stormont Dundas, South Glengarry, as well as local SDG municipalities for support. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, second by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Any questions from member of council? Go ahead.
No, just thank you for doing this one. Like I said, when I asked to have it added, if the producers are creating the blue box material, it shouldn't matter what source is carrying it or where it's coming from. It's still material produced by the producers, and it shouldn't be an extra burden for municipalities to have to deal with a small sliver of the population and incurring the cost of supporting that. So thank you for pulling that together.
I agree. Or Councillor McDonald, any questions? Councillor Bajelli? No. So in regards to that, so we have it where it's being resolved that the North Stormont is following up with North Glengarry, and it states multiple other municipalities. In regards to our regional waste committee that was formed, did they bring back, is there something from the regional waste committee that could kind of, as a whole for SD&G?
Through the chair, there was considerable dialogue. I was not the lead on that project for the Township of North Stormont. The Superintendent of Public Works and the Supervisor of Public Works were leads on that project. But I do know when the group started, that was one of the significant discussion points before it had come into effect. But I have not seen anything formally from SDG on this particular item.
Am I right to say that it's January of 2025 that we are
Correct.
switching?
I understand that to be the date, yes.
So there'll be more, so we can forward and advocate on this, but it's gonna come to our table to determine where, especially when you're looking at our commercial businesses and when they're mentioning daycare, they're mentioning. So anyways, I'm sure there'll be more discussions to be had, so. With the motion read, all in favor of motion is carried. Moving on to our correspondence.
Be it resolved that the correspondence as listed as items 12.1 to 12.3 on the agenda be received. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, second by Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Any questions? They're all in regards to our infrastructure throughout these small towns. We're seeing the effect of Moose Creek and our wastewater and water issues, so that's always something that's on the table for us to consider. All in favor of accepting the correspondence? Motion is carried. And I guess moving on to item 13, schedules of our next meeting of June 25th, 2024, which that's the special meeting for, is that regards to the, perfect. And then we've got, on that same night, we've got a zoning meeting, which will take place just before our regular meeting of June 25th, as well as our one and only meeting of July 16th for the month of July. There's no closed session, so moving on to the ratification of our bylaw. Sorry.
Just one. I know. Just one, I actually should have done it at the start of the meeting, but didn't have a chance, was to congratulate our local member of provincial parliament, Nolan Quinn, on his recent promotion. He has been elevated to the ranks of cabinet now as the new associate minister for forestry. Although he is now called honorable, I told him there's no way that's happening. He's still just Nolan. So. But in all honesty, I think he's going to do a great job. He called me the morning of on his driving to Queen's Park. He didn't know what he was going to get yet, but he was shaking. He was so excited. So I'm sure he's going to do great work for our riding, and hopefully in the future that's going to lead to another ministry that's going to help us locally as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Adrian. So the ratification, Madam Clerk.
Be it resolved that bylaw number 50-2024, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify council's actions at its regular meeting of June 11th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 11th day of June 2024. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Densham.
All in favor? Motion is carried. And our adjournment.
Be it resolved that this regular meeting adjourn at 7:07 PM. Moved by Deputy Mayor Densham, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
And all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Adrian, for participating by Zoom, and for members of council, and for our members of the public. I appreciate it. You, everyone, have a great night. Thank you.